Ladies and gentlemen, on page 17 of the Mueller report, you can just go on CNN and get the full Mueller report, go to page 17, or type in the word sufficient. See how many times the word sufficient pops up in relation to the word evidence. And then you'll get second, while the investigation identified numerous links between individuals with ties to the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign, by the way, not illegal at all. And first of all, Natalia Veselnitskaya and Joseph Mifsud, two of the primary culprits, alleged culprits in all of this, not only were not interviewed by Robert Mueller, but there's no documented ties between either of them and the Kremlin. Natalia Veselnitskaya was allowed into the country by Attorney General Loretta Lynch, according to The Hill. Joseph Mifsud has ties to the State Department, according to numerous congressional Republicans. So, and he was already, the evidence regarding Joseph Mifsud was, that story already broke in Disobedient Media by Elizabeth Voss 2 years ago, actually a year and a half ago. So Joseph Mifsud and Natalia Veselnitskaya, they're not any direct links or links at all to the Kremlin. But let's just continue. Second, while the investigation identified numerous links between individuals with ties to the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign, mind you, Bill Clinton met with Vladimir Putin at his home outside Moscow in 2010 while the uranium deal was going down. But anyway, the evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. Among other things, the evidence was not sufficient to charge any campaign official as an unregistered agent of the Russian government or the Russian principal. And our evidence about a June 9, 2016 meeting and the DNC emails was not sufficient to charge a criminal campaign finance violation. Furthermore, the evidence was not sufficient to charge any member of the Trump campaign, to charge that any member of the Trump campaign conspired with representatives of the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. This is the backdrop, this is the foundation, I should say, of William Barr basically not only contradicting but calling out Robert Mueller. I mean, how many times do you have to rehash or reword the same conclusion? There was a 2-year investigation. Robert Mueller the other day makes a buffoon out of himself, even a bigger imbecile, and says, well, there was no evidence of anything. I can't exonerate Trump. In fact, I don't even know. He could have done something horrible, a criminal in yet another alternate universe. This is the only exoneration needed, okay? The evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. With Clinton, the evidence was sufficient, but no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute. What is reasonable to you is not reasonable to me. What is reasonable to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton and Adam Schiff is not reasonable to President Trump. We don't live in a country where the majority of people think just one way. When James Comey stated no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute Clinton after he laid out a litany of crimes she committed and literally said there's violations of legal statutes. No reasonable prosecutor, according to James Comey, well, because you know what, she didn't mean to do it. How do you unintentionally utilize servers outside the U.S. government? And she's running again. Hillary Clinton is running again. Mark my words, she is running again, and she will take the entire Democratic Party down to the depths of madness, which is fantastic. Oh my God. Vindicate everything I've been saying. Everything I have been saying from day one will be vindicated exponentially. It already has been. Look, it's already been, everything I've been saying has been vindicated. Look, right here, it's in the Mueller report. I stated that the day Mueller was, the special counsel was created. It's in the pinned comment. The day it was, the segment where I was still on the left at the time, I said this is all nonsense. It was all essentially purchased by Clinton. And I was right. You were right. You watch this channel. We've both been basically calling it, saying this is a bunch of nonsense. But when he says, well, we can't clear Trump of any crimes, it's not for Mueller to do. When Mueller says it's not, we couldn't clear Trump of any legal violations, William Barr says, hey, number one, you could have made a decision on obstruction or collusion. Or no, on obstruction. He made a decision on collusion. You could have made a decision on obstruction. But how can you have obstruction if on the collusion part, the evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges? Among other things, the evidence was not sufficient to charge any campaign official as an unregistered agent of the Russian government or other Russian principal. And our evidence about the June 9, 2016 meeting regarding DNC emails, okay, it was not sufficient to charge a criminal campaign violation. Criminal campaign finance violation. Furthermore, the evidence was not sufficient to charge that any member of the Trump campaign conspired with representatives of the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. This is page 17 of the Mueller DNC Democratic Party report. Don't call it the Mueller report. Call it the Mueller DNC report. Okay. So there is no, this whole thing, they're like, oh, well, we have to impeach Trump. Do it. You're going to lose. And you're going to lose with Clinton again. What they're relying on, look, they're going to almost certainly impeach President Trump. They have nothing else. They don't have anything else. Of course, it's not going to get past the Senate. They're not going to convict Trump of anything because the only thing they're going to try to say is, well, he obstructed justice. You can't obstruct justice when there was no evidence of anything to begin with. Trump's approval rating hits highest point in 2 years. Gee, I wonder why. Latest Harvard-Harris poll. Look at that. Survey found 48% approve of what Trump is doing. So they're done. The Democratic Party has done everything, has tried everything possible, and they still can't. They essentially control the media, and they still can't touch Trump. It's unbelievable. They're so inept because they don't have, when they talk about any issue from immigration to climate change, they don't have any policies they're voting on now. A resolution, a Green New Deal resolution, is not a policy. It's not legislation. It's the symbolic, nonsensical, irrational, absurd, pie in the sky. It's not even something you'd want to aspire to have. It's an ambitious goal. No, it's not. Why would you want to do away with air travel? Why would you want to? I don't want to get into it. The metals needed to ensure that electric car vehicle batteries run properly. Read my Federalist article below in the pinned comment. Nickel, lithium, and especially cobalt. The indigenous communities that mine these metals, the communities that AOC claims to care about, would be decimated. The majority of the world's cobalt is located in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The people there would suffer tremendously from not only political chaos and turmoil, but environmental damage and pollution from mining cobalt for 95% more of American car sales. So only 5% of American car sales are electric car vehicle batteries. AOC wants 100%. What do you think is going to happen to the global supply of cobalt, lithium, nickel, and the other metals that are needed? Anyway, the point is the Democrats have nothing. They have nothing but scandal. They think that if they could just ride the fumes of scandal and Trump, discontent, and just today, you still have Trump's approval rating its highest point in 2 years. I mean, this is the day after Mueller spoke in a soft-spoken, earnest voice, the kind of voice that you trust, and yet still it didn't work out. He could have said Trump committed a crime. He could have said the Office of Legal Counsel, 1973 and 2000 memos. These are not laws, first of all. These are guidelines within the Justice Department. So what? So what? If Trump actually did collude with Russia, they would have indicted Trump. And the original, the creation of the special counsel makes no mention to that. Makes no mention of that. So Rod Rosenstein makes no mention of that when he created the abomination called the Mueller probe. So you have, this is what you have. You have a Democratic Party that's in free fall. They have nothing. There's no legislation they're pushing. There are no policies they're pushing. With Trump, you have foreign policy issues. You have foreign policy goals that he's trying to attain. You have domestic policy goals that he's trying to attain. You can disagree with him, you can agree with him, but he has specific goals that he's trying to attain. The Democratic Party has only one goal: to undermine and harm Trump. That's it. That's it. The Democratic Party has only one goal in mind: utilize the media, pave the way for Madam Cyberhack, who's speaking at a who's speaking, if you could believe this, at a cybersecurity conference in October. You might as well get Jeffrey Dahmer to write a cookbook or to host a Food Network show. You might as well get like Charles Manson to give a seminar on anger management, or Aldrich Ames and Robert Hansen to give lessons on patriotism and loyalty. What? You talk about chutzpah. You talk about audacity. It's just really unbelievable. Really unbelievable. You talk about this kind of... Clinton is running again, and the reason I keep bringing it up is because there has to be some kind of thread that links through all of the madness and irrationality. Why would you cheat Bernie Sanders, lose there, end up with a Mueller probe that finds nothing, lose there politically also, get all of these progressive politicians, okay, then lose there also, because these politicians are hurting the Democratic Party more than anything else, because they're not voting on any legislation. There is no Medicare for all legislation they're voting on. AOC didn't get elected with a promise of a resolution, a Green New Deal resolution. In fact, the Green New Deal, climate change was not one of the things that got AOC elected. This is a complete bait and switch. I know I'm talking to Trump voters like myself, but I used to be a progressive. Or I used to be on the left. I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Back then, one thought that Bernie Sanders was different, that he didn't care about his image, that he wasn't a political creature. I was naive, so naive. I actually thought the FBI was independent. So if you look at like the early segments on this channel, I'm like, please FBI, do the right thing. I didn't know Strzok was like, yeah, you know what? H.A. Goodman wants you to take it, shove it, you know where. You have all of these people now. There's John Durham. They're going to declassify information. They know what's going on. They know what's going on. And they know that John Durham and William Barr and President Trump knows everything they were up to. And it's really hilarious, too, because, I mean, this didn't work out. So, I mean, the last bastion they have is to impeach Trump. That's the last road they can take before Madam Cyberhack eventually announces she's in the news every single day. Every single day she's in the news. But the last road is impeach Trump, because that's all they have. They look with Bernie Sanders, and if people want to tune out now, fine. It's just going to be me giving my thoughts. And, you know, after the 10, 12, 13-minute mark, people say, "Well, you keep talking about it." Look, more House Democrats grow ready to impeach Trump. Do it. It's not going to work out. I hope they impeach Trump. At this point right now, watching their descent into madness is amusing. They lost. They're going to impeach Trump. Why? Literally because the Mueller probe said the evidence was not sufficient to support criminal charges. The evidence was not sufficient to charge any campaign official as an unregistered agent. It was not sufficient to charge a criminal campaign. Furthermore, the evidence was not sufficient to charge any member of the Trump campaign to charge that any member of the Trump campaign conspired with representatives of the Russian government to interfere in the 2016 election. So what are they going to impeach him on? What are they going to impeach him on? Not collusion. Oh, no. He obstructed the probe into the fact that there was no evidence of any collusion. What? They are now going to impeach him. And it's not going to work out well, because the average person is going to say, well, why are you doing this to President Trump? Why are you doing this? The impeachment is going to lead to, why are you doing this? Why can't you just focus on some kind of legislation? I mean, what do you gain from this? What does the country gain from this? That's the issue that people should ask. What does the country gain from impeachment? Aside from Democrats saying, I really can't stand him. I hate him. I can't stand him. But nobody cares what Democrats think. Really, nobody cares. The media has proven to be completely inept or not trustworthy. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Americans' view of media. Most Americans say they've lost trust in media. 72%. 72%. 72% say traditional outlets report news they know to be false, fake, false, or purposely misleading. 72% of Americans. Okay? And this is a poll of 4,000 adults. And 92% of Republicans feel that way. So, even Democrats, 79% of independents saying traditional outlets knowingly report false. So, it's like you have this is the Hill. You have this information at your disposal if you're the Democratic Party. You know that you're running on the fact that you essentially control media. You think you can continue to do, I mean, they're obviously not in it to win it. They're not trying to win anything. They're trying to take power and influence away from Trump. They're not trying to win any political election. It's a different type of endeavor. So that's really what it is. They get rewarded for losing. I said this last night. The Democratic Party is the only political party in the world that gets rewarded. The more they lose, the better. Because then you have people in Hollywood, but by the way, that are trying to distance themselves from Trump after 15 years of The Apprentice. And You have voices on late night. You have the same pundits, the same journalists and writers, the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN, and MSNBC. What person do you know that could withstand all of those, like this concerted, unified effort to undermine one individual? It's not even it's not even Trump's political party. It's just Trump. It's just him. They've devoted their lives to taking down one individual, and they can't do so. They have devoted their lives to taking down one individual, and they simply can't do so. It's just unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And it's just pure madness, but they're okay. O'Rourke calls for impeachment. Beto O'Rourke speaks like this. And why anyone takes him seriously, I don't know. In fact, I think he broke about 3.5% in the polls. Beto. Didn't work out, did it? Time to eat dirt. Donald Trump wants us to impeach him, Nancy. This is the thing. Nancy Pelosi is right, but she's going to have to acquiesce. It doesn't matter what she thinks Trump wants, which actually Trump does want this, and I want this, everyone wants this. It will be so funny and amusing. They're going to impeach Trump, and then the Senate's going to be like, wait a second, there was no collusion. What are you doing? There's no obstruction either. Let's talk about this. All the obstruction, because the Senate Republicans are going to have to defend Trump. You're going to actually unify the Republican Party around Trump. Even the Republicans that don't want to be unified around Trump. Even the Republicans that are like, I don't even know if do we really want to get in bed with Trump? And they're going to unify around him because they're going to say, my God, this is out of control. But again, like I said, in my long-winded way, what do they have? What do they have? They don't have anything else. They don't have anything else. They must engage in impeachment because they have nothing else left. Give me your thoughts below. If you want to support my voice, my Patreon is in the pinned comment. Please share and read all my writing below in the Federalist, the Daily Caller, and the Jerusalem Post. Thank you so very, very much.